My next guest is really the reason why the Hearts in Rhythm organization exists. Richard Atkins is a cardiac arrest survivor, and I'm so honored that he's here today on Heart Rhythm TV to share his story. So, Richard, welcome.
Lou, thank you very much. It's great to be here.
For those who haven't seen your very gripping YouTube video, tell us a little bit about your entry into this world of heart rhythm.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was, to say it was unexpected would have been an understatement. Literally, I was introduced to this world on September the 7th, 2019. I was competing in the Whistler Fondo cycle race, and about 10 minutes into the race, I was just going up a place called Taylor Way, which is the first hill in the course, and I suddenly felt faint on my bike, and I just got to the top of the hill, and I knew something was really wrong, and just had the foresight to shout at the people around me, unclip, get off my bike, and I was sitting in the middle of the highway. I was conscious of people around me. I was conscious of people supporting me. I could hear somebody calling 911. And it felt very surreal. I remember sitting there thinking, is it a dream? And clearly it wasn't. And the next thing I knew, I woke up in the ambulance. I learnt then that I'd had CPR from some amazing people who knew exactly what to do at that time. And then the ambulance crew, I understand later, used the pads on me twice. And that's when I woke up the second time I came back. And within a few minutes I was with the cardiac team in St Paul's, and that was my rude introduction on an early one Saturday morning.
Wow, an incredible story, and as you shared with our audience today, you're an unlikely statistic. Only about 10% of people that have a cardiac arrest survive. And you were in very good health at the time. You'd been training for this event, and you're
yeah, I'm a lifelong athlete, if it will. I'm like yourself. I was a runner by background. That's what I started in. I played soccer for many years, and more recently, since I immigrated to Canada, I've really got into cycling, and that's been my thing. And yeah, that whole year I was training hard for sure, but I'd raced only a month earlier, and it had gone really, really well. So I was in great shape, and I think, as I spoke to the audience earlier, I've got some friends that I've known 50 years now, and if you'd done a straw poll of them and said, who's the guy most unlikely to have something like this, I would have been the candidate, I think, for sure.
Yeah, wow. We've talked a bit about the amazing people that responded appropriately, immediately. Bystanders, CPR, a rescue shock, and then of course the medical team. Tell us a bit about some of the other supports, the supports that are less visible or potentially less accessible that you've leaned on.
Yeah, it's a great question, and on one level I was blessed being at St Paul's and the team there, and then also on the arrhythmia side with Dr. Cram being associated with that. I've got Dr. HiRO at UBC in sports cardiology. So I've got an amazing group of people who I've been able to meet professionally. On the other side of things, it was a little bit more make it up as you go along. There wasn't an obvious place to go for the support, but the way that I think, I'm generally a glass half full person anyway. And I think immediately I came out of hospital, I did a mind map, and right at the heart and centre of that was what's truly important to me. But I think I also wanted to understand what had gone on, and I knew particularly actually a number of women that teach at where I cycle, and they were breast cancer survivors. So I clued into them, just people that had to maybe face the death question, which I'd never really examined myself. So I met with them. There was a group that I also met called Athletes with Arrhythmia, because being an athlete, I think if the doctors had said you can't do anything, mentally that would have really been a toughie. But I met these guys, and again the age range was from teenagers through to 60-year-old women who'd run Boston Marathon. 18, 20 times. So I had a group there. I had an amazing response from when you move to a new country. Sometimes you think you've made a lot of friends and acquaintances and everything else, but I just had an amazing response from the people in and around Vancouver, obviously my friends and family back in the UK. So I had a great support unit there. And number one was Helen, my wife. She was just incredible through the actual period. As I said when we were just presenting, I think in many respects it was tougher for her. And she was the link to the family and everybody else whilst it was going on. And it was really, and she bottled all that emotion up, and it was only really when I came out of hospital a week later that we actually had an opportunity to discuss how we both felt about things. But she's been incredible and really supportive. She's here today because she wants to be here, and so she's been the number one, reason why I can remain positive about everything.
Yeah, it was wonderful to see her. When you were talking about her waiting for you at the finish, that was, I think everyone in the audience had that lump in their throat.
She has her own story, so she, as I said in there, she has the other side of the story, which is quite an interesting story as well. We'll
have to get her on Heart Rhythm TV at the next time. Now, why is it so important to bring the patient voice to these meetings? This is a unique type of meeting where clinicians and researchers are sitting right with survivors and families, yes, and families of people who haven't survived.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, as I say, I was grateful to be invited. I think when I came out of hospital, one of the things I've been looking for some way of giving back in life, and whilst I might have not chosen the way that it happened, it found me. And I think immediately I realised it had found me. I wanted to see what I could do about it. And I know when I spoke with Dr. Chakrabarty and I met with him, and he was and is responsible for a not-for-profit, I had some ideas and thoughts on how we could actually go bigger and better. Because I genuinely believe that this is a condition that can be overcome. And the more I learn about it, the more I hear about it, science will advance inevitably. It's still quite young from a science point of view. I think that's why I'm passionate about it, because I think we can make a difference. And I think, like all good decisions, I think if you get all of the vested parties involved, then you're going to hear things from every side. And I think ultimately together we'll make good decisions. And I think, as we heard with some of the other videos, and as you say, particularly the last family where unfortunately the lady lost her husband, you can see the impact on family as well. And I think sometimes if you just get and I've been in healthcare as well for professionally for 12, 15 years. I think I always try and look at things from what we call the user perspective or the patient perspective, and therefore I think ultimately together you end up making better decisions.
Richard, thank you so much for joining us on this Heart Rhythm TV episode, and most importantly, thank you for joining us at the meeting and for your advocacy. And I know we're going to keep working together on this.
We absolutely are. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.